What's up, closers? This is Kevin.
This is Ryan.
This is Becca, and you're listening to the Close of Business podcast,
the one and only STEM podcast for young professionals.
When the company laptops close,
the beer's open,
and the conversation flows,
all of this and more happens
at the Close of Business. So, big news this week.
Whoa, let's welcome. You gotta welcome them. Welcome, everybody, to episode 32 of the Close of Business podcast.
It's kind of like they're close friends now. You know, like when you see your close friend, you're not like, welcome, hi, buddy, how are you? It's like, you're my close friend, just like, what's up, let's get moving. That's kind of how I just dove into it because they're close friends at this point.
Sup, loser. Sup, nerds. I don't like you. That's how I treat my friends. Yeah,
so now they feel like they're in.
Yeah,
they're like inner circle friendship.
So we episode 32 of the Close of Business podcast. Today we are covering a big interview, and
this is a big one.
A big interview, which we will get to, and then we're going to focus this episode pretty much on technology in sports.
Hell yeah!
I'm very excited to research this.
Sports.
Two of my favorite things in the world, which are sports and technology. And esports. Write it down. We'll get to it.
We're adding it to the topic
53.
Board. Yeah.
Episode 53.
We're adding it to the topic board. Big news.
Oh yeah, feedbacks and updates. Some FUs. We haven't said give you some FUs in a while.
So we're gonna give you some FUs. You're in our circle of friends now, listeners. So we're gonna give you some FUs. You know how it is. Big news, right? If you don't follow us on social media, you're wrong.
Do it.
Second, if you do, good job. We rebranded. We've got new cover art.
Yeah.
Right? I'm pretty excited about it.
It's a cool photo of us, and I want to make this like, if you follow us, like let's just like in a month, let's just like randomly choose people that follow us, and we'll give them t-shirts because we're gonna make t-shirts.
We are making t-shirts. So it's me, Kevin, and Ryan standing there with our business on top, party on the bottom. It's like a mullet of an outfit. But playing with the whole concept of we're normal professionals, we have a day job, but we like to hang out and talk about things going on outside
kids,
of work.
We're cool too. We're not nerds. Yeah.
Well, in theory, allegedly. But it's a sick photo.
But just a little update there, and I think I'm just gonna say it, like we're gonna be creating t-shirts with that and giving them away. So
we wore t-shirts with that printed out to the Singularity University Global Summit, and we actually got hella positive feedback. People were like,
Hold on, let's pause, Becca.
So Ryan just walked in the room,
unpause.
Straight off the plane from Spain. I'm convinced.
Hola, muchachos. Hola, muchachos.
He's joining us for our feedback and updates. He's joining us for our feedback and updates because we literally need an update from him. We haven't seen him in like a month. So
before we get into that, because point 3 is about Ryan. Point number 2, look at our cover art. We're gonna make t-shirts. Let us know. Hit us up at COB Podcast on Twitter and IG if you would rock one, because we're gonna be making probably 100 to 200 of these just to give out.
And it looks like a sick band tee, honestly, like something you could get from Urban Outfitters or something.
Oh, I had a little beef with Kevin's Instagram post. I thought it was a poll, so Kevin posted and he was like, who's rocking the best outfit? And so of course I clicked on my name because I wanted to see what the voting was, and he was like, wrong answer. It's like Kevin's the right answer.
I didn't even respond. I thought it was a poll too. I didn't realize it was a right or wrong.
It was. I told you the right answer.
What is this, the SATs, bro? Come on.
So our third feedback and update is literally
when we wrote this outline.
Ryan sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you guys. I've been
we didn't expect you to
3 weeks.
We didn't expect you to show up, so we were gonna talk smack about you behind your back.
Fine with it.
So when you listen to the episode.
So yeah, we've got breaking news. Ryan is back. He walked in the middle of our recording, fresh off the plane from Spain. Ryan, give us the highlights.
Well, point 3 is ruined, by the way, for this intro.
Are you saying you don't suck? You don't have the power to decide that. That's up
why
to
I went
us.
On this trip, I wanted to show everyone that I don't suck. That's the whole reason. But no, it was awesome. It was 3 weeks. I'll say is a long time to be traveling.
Did you forget about America in general? Did you forget your English?
I feel like, yeah, when I got back, like
You're like, must speak English.
So
I don't understand.
all the big cities, I feel like spoke English because a lot of them spoke English. But like the smaller cities, like it was mainly Spanish. But I found myself like thinking what I was gonna say, like the conversation, where it would go.
Yeah.
And if it was gonna go down like a rabbit hole, I was like, okay, I'll go in with English. But if it was gonna be like pretty shallow,
simple, you're like, I'll try the Spanish.
A couple of times, like I would, try to start with Spanish, and they just talk so fast and like.
You'd be like, I gotta abort mission.
Yeah, so
I can't do this.
I'm like, I'm sorry. Can we speak English? Type of thing. But no, it was awesome. Funny story. I got my passport stolen/lost in Ibiza, and so that's.
Did you bring it with you to the club?
No, I didn't. This was on my way to the airport, and it was on a Sunday, so the embassy was closed.
Oh my gosh.
I had to like get a police report through the Spanish police so that I could, and it was like my passport, it was my credit cards, it was everything that I had except for, everything from a wallet standpoint that I had. So like, I had to get a police report.
So moral of the story, Ryan is in Spain's police reports.
Yes.
So
yeah. And my ID and my Costco membership card is over there somewhere.
Oh no,
so
that's a big
hopefully
loss.
They don't take advantage of that.
That's a big loss.
I know. So, but other than that, it was awesome.
Well, that's great. I'm sorry to hear for your misfortunes, but
mostly the Costco membership
card.
Yeah,
That's
terrible. A loss. Let's pour one out for that bad boy.
So we just got done with our feedbacks and updates. Got some updates from Ryan. Life sucks for him. We actually, it's kind of funny. We preluded this. We said Ryan's having a terrible time in Spain on the last episode.
Oh my God, that was bad juju from us.
Oh, we
did
stole
that.
your credit card.
We influenced the universe. Sorry, bro.
Karma is real. Becca, you need to get my astrology report ASAP.
I heard Kevin's gonna magically make $2 million in the next couple of months.
Yeah.
And then Becca's gonna what? What'd you hear is gonna happen to Becca?
Becca is going to have fun. I don't know.
Dude, that happens anyway. I gave you $2 million and you gave me fun. What kind of trade-off
I gave you
is that?
happiness.
I'm also happy all the time too.
Hey, more money, more problems. You gave me more problems. So, okay, so that was our feedbacks and updates. Let's move on to our podium. And for this episode, since we're interviewing the executive chairman of Topgolf, we figured we'd do
humble brag
a podium of Topgolf rip-offs. So Becca and I are going to give our 3, and then we're going to put Ryan on the spot to give maybe one idea. Age before beauty. Wait.
That would mean you because you're older.
But I'm also beautifuler. So I'll go first and second.
We both have faces for radio. That's the whole point of this.
That's a good point. All right, you go first.
So my bronze is basic, but I feel like this is something that people would really want. So got to give the people what they want. Obvious baseball type facility, right? It would be cool if you go there and it's like whatever city it's in. So in Kansas City, it would be like a setup of Kauffman Stadium, right? Like same setup. And then you go, some machine pitches you a ball and you'll hit the ball. And then you can see, oh, it'd be dope if it goes over the Kauffman fence into the fountains, or based on like where you hit the ball, you'd have like sensors that identify zones of like what positions the players could cover.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I hit a pop up to the area where a left fielder could catch the ball.
Yeah.
So I don't get as many points.
And it'd be really cool.
Or I hit it right by the shortstop, line drive through, you know what I mean? So you get more points for that. And then a home run, you get hella points.
And it'd be really cool. I like that idea if like you could incorporate like real-time data. So the Royals suck. So every time you hit it to one of their position players, they mess up and you get on base. Or in 2015, they would have been really good, and it would be really hard to hit against them.
That's true. Maybe.
Or like get a pitcher. You choose a pitcher, and they can like throw their pitch.
So maybe the sensors are based off of what starters from the Royals or whatever local teams like players play in that position at the time. And if it's like, oh, they have a shitty second baseman, like
you're trying to hit it to second base.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like, oh man, I'm going up against Hamels early in the season. I'm going to hit a home run off of him. Versus like I'm going against Jack Flaherty post All-Star break, and you're gonna strike out 1,000 times.
So Erik
quick question.
Anderson, do you want to invest in this idea?
Yeah, Erik. See, this is sports, man. I'm getting fired up. All right, so my bronze is, all right, this is my low-hanging fruit, soccer. And this would be almost exactly like Topgolf, except you call it like a foot golf concept, right? Foot golf exists. This would be a Topgolf version of foot golf, except maybe instead of just like hitting it in holes, you could like, hey, we've got nets, we've got defender legs, we've got a winger running down. Like imagine a Topgolf scenario, but on the left side you've got a cardboard cutout of a goalie who tries to track it and tries to save it. On the right hand side you've got one of your wingers running down the line and you have to place it at their feet. You have defenders that you have to weave it through, like, you know, like generic obstacles.
Jumping off of what we said for the baseball, it would be cool if you could select which goalie you want to go up against. That would be cool. Like, oh, I want to go up against who's your favorite? I can't even remember. I don't know goalies'
Allison.
names. From Liverpool?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. That's
wow.
who you pick.
Good call. My silver is dodgeball.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So, and this isn't just normal dodgeball. I'm not talking just targets. I'm talking having like workers out there running around in padded costumes with sensors on their body, RFID chipped baseballs. And the point system would be derived based on the size, because it's harder to throw a basketball than it is a baseball. So it would know if you're throwing a basketball and you're nailing a worker 25 yards or 50 yards out. Was it a stationary target? You can also hit stationary targets. You can throw through holes, like, you know, the football combines or whatever. Or you could do like breakable objects, like, hey, like, and this essentially just got me back to carnival games. Like, this is just like a carnival
you're like
game
at the
for
saloon
throwing
stand where you're like shooting guns at like the beer bottles behind the bar.
Except you're throwing bullets instead of shooting.
Okay,
them, you know?
so that's one
Dropping
half
dimes.
of it, and then the other half of it is like you can be the one who's getting thrown at.
Oh yeah, no, like as you're getting thrown at.
It knows if it makes contact with you. It knows if somebody threw a freaking laser right at you and you made some sort of like stealthy Matrix type move to avoid it. It would give you extra points for that dish.
We're making this an interactive experience. You could have like old ladies walking out there, and if you hit them, it's like minus 100 points. You know, So that was my silver. What's yours?
Okay, the last two I have are like kind of weird.
Yeah, my last one's weird.
This one's pretty weird too. You go there and you have your own individual swim tank.
Okay.
And it's like a VR experience. You're like in a little tank, and it's got like jet propulsions.
Those exist, yeah.
Resist you, right? And then you look over, and Michael Phelps is swimming next to you, and you're racing Michael Phelps.
That's actually really cool.
And then you look to your left, and you're like, holy shit, there's Ryan Lochte. I'm trying to race him, but for me, I'd be like,
next thing you know, like Ryan Lochte is getting robbed at a gas station, but turns out he's not. So,
and then you get out and you have beers with your friends. Not condoning drinking and swimming.
So this is just exercise,
but
and you're not supposed to eat or drink 30 minutes before. So
there's signs plastered all over the facility. Do not eat or drink 20 minutes before entering swim tank.
30 to 45. Like,
enter at your own risk.
Yeah. Oh my God. Would there be a lifeguard on duty?
I feel like there would have to be. Also puke buckets, just in case somebody got in like right after they ate.
What about sharks?
That would be cool. You could pick who you wanted to race. Like you wanted to race. I want to race sharks today.
That would be so And then if you get eaten, like the water turns red.
Yeah.
Like
you're like, oh, time's
like
up.
Red LEDs, and you're like, yeah.
Nuts.
All right. That's a good exercise idea. I don't know if that's entertainment. What's your gold?
Okay, so my gold is, stay with me here. So you know those like iFly facilities where you can go and they have those like tunnels where you can like fake skydive?
Yeah.
Okay, so you go to a place and it's full of a bunch of those tunnels, and you like rent one out with your friends. And when you get in the suit, they have sensors on you, and then you just like hit tricks the whole time, and the sensors will give you points based on like how cool of tricks you're hitting. So you're like, oh, this girl did a double gainer with a 360 twist, like she gets 1,500 points. Or like, I did a triple backflip, you get 1,500 points, and you get like 5 minutes in the tunnel. And then you see who gets the most points based on who hits the coolest tricks.
What about that's a good idea, Becca.
I know. I think I could make money off that one.
Yeah, we might need to cut this from the episode and just like venture off.
Copyright.
TM. Closers, if you guys want to pursue these ideas and form a business, hit us up at cobpodcast@gmail.com.
We are of the entrepreneurial mindset
or
here.
At COB Podcast on Twitter, IG, and we also now have a Facebook group. Oh, that should have been a feedback and update. We have a Facebook group. I'm not going to spam you because I'm weird about Facebook, but if you want to and you're on Facebook, go join it, please.
Yes, please do.
Maybe I will spam you. So
we're only people in our group are gonna get super special info and stuff from us.
If you want a free t-shirt, you have to be a follower on
Boom.
and in the Facebook group, or otherwise we'll spam you.
All right, what's your gold?
My gold is okay. So I'm flipping the script here. Instead of throwing objects at sensors, what if you throw yourself at sensors? So here's this. It's called water slide something. Come up with a cool name, but it's like essentially just imagine like 100 yards worth of water slides, and they're like big. They're like not just like one water slide. I'm talking like, you know, each water slide is like 20 feet wide, so you can launch off at your own angles, and like it's essentially like shooting pool. Like you have to time the speed and the angle to get launched, and then there's going to be like targets that you have to dive through or jump through or hit, or like balls being thrown at you that you have to catch. Because that was the best game when you're at the pool. Anytime I go, you throw the football and like, oh, one-handed. Like, so this would be 100 yards of that of you just like, you get a running start, like you can get up to 25 yards, and you've like
waxed your entire body.
Yeah, no, like
They've got a wax station.
You can add different elements. So you know how like in pool they have like they have the sensors above. Oh, that would be a good thing to talk about. They have the sensors above that show you based on the angle of your pool stick.
Yeah,
you know how it's gonna hit the ball and how it's gonna bounce. You could like maybe incorporate some technology to like kind of shift your trajectory and be like, all right, you need to run 10 miles an hour at this angle at this height of, so you got to go, and just like you could have flaming hoops that you go through. I've always wanted to jump through a flaming hoop.
Expert level.
Yeah. I mean, that would be really fun. My blood is pumping. Right. Yeah.
Ryan. All right. We're putting you on the spot. What are your thoughts?
So I have a pretty decent bronze that I know would be my bronze. Similar to the baseball thing, it's kind of the same thing, but I've always wanted to stand in the box and see like 100-mile-per-hour fastball coming at me, but also like how it would feel to be hit by 100-mile-per-hour fastball. like what it would be like. And then that's a tough one. So I'll say that's my bronze.
But they show you like the sensors show you like the level of impact and like how it hit your body.
Like you can like pick where you get to hit. You know, be hit, and like the more balls you take, the higher your score. I don't know.
So this is like a Happy Gilmore game.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I'll go with my bronze, or my silver. Sorry, a recreation of basketball's toughest shots. So like you're in a real game situation, all the toughest shots that have been made throughout like the course of NBA or college. And like there's defenders in your face or whatever, and
Mario
like
Chalmers.
Yeah, Mario Chalmers, like that situation, you have to run that, and like someone pass you a ball.
Okay, that would be sick. I like that idea a lot.
So like you get, all your friends get.
You
like,
pick your famous play, and
right?
You try to recreate it.
Yeah,
you
try to
like
recreate
that.
your favorite.
Does it have to just be basketball? That could be like, well, I feel like basketball would be the most applicable one. Football could be possibly.
Yeah,
but I like that. I like that.
So that's my silver. And then bronze,
he forgot English.
It's a mix of. So I got two ideas. I both like them: boxing, but then also WWE. So I think first is my idea to start with boxing is like I want to like spar and like you wear like a suit so that when you get hit, instead of like actually being hit by a punch, it's just like a little like little ting, on you to let you know you got hit, so no one's dying. But then that really led me to my WWE. Like I want to be in the ring with like John Cena or like The Rock or someone, and just like
give me the full body slam,
right? Or like me be able to jump off one of the corner posts and do like a land on him or something.
That might be one of the most difficult ideas to execute out of everything I've heard here. Like you're talking like, how are you going to simulate?
You gave me 5 minutes is what I came up with.
That's honestly pretty good. I kind of like it more than your slide idea. Just saying.
That's really cool. Closers, what do you let us know any feedback if you have any thoughts, any of these ideas yourself that you think we need to go into business on, and let us know who you thought won today's podium.
Becca. So like we mentioned before, and like the title of this episode states, we have an interview coming up with the executive chairman of Topgolf and CEO of WestRiver Group, Erik Anderson. We were lucky to nab him for about 25 minutes at the Singularity University Global Summit before he was off to some other business-related event.
Yeah.
So we're really excited about this episode. He was such a trooper. We took a lot of the questions that you guys, the listeners, sent in to us to ask him, and Kevin straight up asked him.
Yeah,
he was
some
not
of them
afraid.
were unprofessional, and I still asked him.
And he was all about it.
Yeah.
He bought into it for sure, which was cool.
And if you follow us on social media, you might already know, but we, at the very end, asked him a pretty cool question. Is that on? Do you remember editing it? Did we get that on air?
Yeah.
We
not him actually texting it, but him agreeing to do it.
Okay. Cool. Well, should we just say?
No.
Okay.
You gotta listen to the interview to figure out what happens, and it involves a famous celebrity that everybody knows.
Yeah, and then after the interview, I know like every other episode for the last 10 episodes, we've just kind of cut the episode at the end of the interview. But make sure you stick around after the interview because we have some back-end shoulder content. We are going to do a dive into technology in sports. It's super cool.
Yeah, starting off with the technology behind Topgolf, how Topgolf actually works, and then kind of going from there, what other cool stuff is going on in sports in technological development. It's going to be pretty awesome. So stick with us after this interview.
All right. All right, let's get into it. Okay, everybody, we are joined by the executive chairman of Topgolf, CEO and founder of the WestRiver Group, executive chairman of Singularity University, and a laundry list of other extremely prestigious titles. Erik Anderson, thank you for coming on.
Great to be here.
When we found out that we had the opportunity to interview you, we kind of put on social media and we polled our listeners and asked them if they had any questions that they wanted to ask you. So throughout this interview, we're going to randomly toss in a user question. So if it's weird, we can't claim it.
Okay.
All right.
What time did you ask these people? Where were they? They were
Late
Topgolf. Maybe
Late
had a
at
beer.
night, a few
Okay.
beers deep, yeah.
To be honest, it was late last night. So
Okay. All right. I was just trying to, get ready. I'm getting
yeah,
ready.
You have an understanding. Okay, so the first one is a bit of a softball question or a golf ball question, whatever you want to. Do you golf?
Of course, yes, I golf.
And what's your handicap?
Oh, it's about 13.
13. Okay. I have no idea if that's good.
It's not great. It's not bad.
Not bad.
I've been lower. I've been higher.
Okay. And this is a question from one of our listeners, Ryan. How many golf balls do you think you could fit in your mouth?
That's a good question. 5.
Wow, that's
Okay.
impressive.
All right.
Okay.
I didn't say I could get them out.
Add that to the list of titles that you got.
Accomplishments.
Yeah.
That's probably too many, isn't it? No, I'm thinking about it. Okay.
So you were just named last year third most influential person in golf by Golf Inc.
Yeah.
Who are you most proud to have beaten on the list?
And for the listeners, Tiger Woods came in at 7.
Right.
Jack Nicklaus, 9. And then the POTUS himself, Donald Trump, at 11. Did you ever think you'd be on a list with those people and then having beat them on a list?
The prior year, I was on the cover with
Oh,
with
wow.
Donald Trump. Like I moved the most, the newcomer, and he was then the most powerful, the president. I'm sorry. Oh, gee, I don't know. Tiger and I both went to Stanford, so I probably have to say, it was nice friendly competition to have 2 Stanford people up there. But when I see Tiger, I can say, hey,
You don't seem
went right by you.
You don't seem as excited. Like you're just like, yeah, I'm on the cover with Donald Trump.
It was pretty
Humble,
exciting.
humble.
It was kind of, it was exciting, and then there's just a lot of things going on with that man. So you have to, he did get some attention for sure.
Yeah. All right. Going into your career a little bit. So before Topgolf, you founded, and you're currently the CEO still of WestRiver Group, which is a venture capital company. For our listeners who don't know what venture capital is, could you explain it at a 3rd grade level so that they can follow us?
Well, actually, WestRiver Group has a focus on providing integrated capital solutions to the global innovation economy. So, and we use debt and equity products or capabilities. So we work on lending money to the fast-growing companies.
Okay.
And we also will invest in the equity, what you might think of as traditional venture capital.
Yeah.
But we focus on growth capital and venture capital as well as, providing debt to these companies. So we're sort of in providing these integrated capital solutions into the innovation economy. So that's what we do.
Awesome.
So you have a background as an engineer, and let's just say 20 years into your career, you founded this company, the WestRiver Group. How does someone with your background all of a sudden start a company with the capital to start investing, whether new companies coming up or, like you said, you're giving money to already existing businesses?
Well, it's a great question. I had some a typical path like mine. I had some leadership roles.
Okay.
I had accumulated, some of my own capital. I was at Goldman Sachs for a while in New York. I had the good fortune of working with another company that was a startup company that did well, and I had some board options and things. So I had some success. So
Okay.
That's one of the reasons you do that.
Yeah.
But the more important element than my own capital was finding an idea and a niche where we wanted to work, and then collecting and putting together some really great partners. So, the Kaiser Family Foundation, Two Sigma, and these other sort of very large sources of capital. In this case, they wanted to have access to the global innovation economy.
Yeah.
And I built a relationship with Silicon Valley Bank. So we came with an idea. So I think it starts with an idea first, and then finding some partners. Of course, I had my own capital. And then just starting down the path of, executing. We put one program together, then another, and of course, that sort of allows you to grow.
Do you find yourself investing in the specific industries, or are you just kind of like all over?
Well, we have groups that focus. My own, a good way to think about this, I think, for young leaders is you're either working in the business or on the business.
Okay.
So let's say, so in the case of WestRiver right now, we invest, we have a debt activity. We'll have technology investing, software as a service, these sorts of things. We have some life sciences. We'll have activity in the Pacific Northwest. So those are focus areas. If you're working on those, you're actually working in the business, i.e. I'm making the investment, identifying the company. That's what I do, right, in a large part now is I work on the business, which means who should our partners be? Where should the capital come from? Should we have another platform? Should we be doing fashion? We might, like fashion. Should we be doing, experiential? Should we go to Europe or London? So that's sort of working, on the business. Is there another big idea? So I think when you're going back and forth between these things and when you're thinking about being a young leader, it's really important to go say, right now, am I working on the business or am I working, in the business? So that's an important concept as you think how to grow.
I never thought about it.
Kind of like taking a step back and looking at the big picture rather than the day-to-day.
Well, yeah, and who should be your partners? Like, okay, let's assume we were going to start a business.
I'm down.
Ready? We go.
Let's
Rebecca,
do it.
We'll kill it, right?
Yeah.
So we'd say, well, what's the business? Who should we? Where should we? What office should we be in? Who should be our partners? Where would we get capital? Right. That's on. In the business would be, well, wait a second. We're going to assume we're doing donuts. Well, what kind of donuts are we going to make? What's the flour? What machines do we get? What's the margins? How do we sell it? That's in the business.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I mean. So a CEO, if you're emerging as a leader and you say, I want to be a CEO, at some point CEOs think mostly about work on the business. They're not actually working in the business, right? Your chief operating officer is operating the business, right? So it's an easy way. It's a fun way to think about it. For me, it's a very useful way.
How much of your job is like the Shark Tank? Because when I hear VC, I'm like, oh, okay, he's listening to pitches, and
I'm going to do that someday. That's on my bucket list. I need to call them up. I'd be good on the Shark Tank.
I think you would be too.
Do you think you could call them up?
Sure. From Topgolf, we can do anything. Singularity, Topgolf, they'd love us there.
So the current hosts on the show right now, who would you be most likely to fight with to get
You're going to kick
company?
Cuban off.
I wouldn't take Mark off. He's good. He's on record as saying he missed 2 investments he wished that he hadn't missed. One was Uber, the other was Topgolf. You can actually see him say that. I wouldn't try to. I just try to be a guest.
Okay.
So from WestRiver Group, at what point or how did you end up intersecting with Topgolf? How did that transition happen?
It came as an investment. So actually Topgolf spun out of a small investment we made inside WestRiver. And when we thought it started to have sort of the merit and the opportunity it had, rather than think of it as a fund, we set it up as a special entity and decided we wanted to grow that business. So that's been 17 years now.
Yeah. And that originally started in the UK, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And at the point when you guys started investing in them, did they have any locations? Was it an idea that
they
you
had
guys
3 in the UK.
3 in the UK.
We helped fund and bring it to the US and then the rest of the world.
And now it's like
everywhere.
Everybody knows what Topgolf.
Sure, you've all gone. Thank
How
you.
many countries are you in so far?
Oh, let's see. Right now, we got Canada, Mexico, Australia. We're under construction in Dubai. So we're 5, 6, or 7. But, we're going to announce in the next 12, 14 months, we'll have partnerships in almost, everywhere in the world.
I was going to ask where your goals were, like total global numbers. What?
Yeah.
Every city.
Hundreds more, yeah.
I love it.
We just opened a Topgolf location in St. Louis.
Yes.
And I know this because every time I drive by, it looks like, the parking lot looks like it's outside of a football stadium. It's incredibly packed all the
St.
time.
Louis has really embraced us really well.
Loved it. I guess we had a couple questions from the listeners specifically regarding Topgolf. The first is, when you guys go around choosing which cities, I guess, is there a process in choosing a city, or what kind of markets are you looking at?
Well, all large metropolitan areas.
Okay.
And then we're creating a smaller capital light opportunity so we can go to smaller cities.
Uh-huh.
But here's something your listeners may not think about. I've thought about this because Topgolf, you'll think about it maybe as the venues, right, where you go and hit the golf balls.
Yeah.
But it's not how I think about Topgolf.
Okay.
Okay.
So what I think about Topgolf now is that we've built a very large global sports entertainment community.
Yes.
So, we have the venues, and then when you watch golf on TV, the tracer, right, that's us.
Yep.
Then we're putting that technology into all the driving ranges in the world. All of them, right? So that you think about that as not a practice facility anymore, but a global game network. And then we have WGT, World Golf Tour, where we have about 20 million people playing the game.
Okay.
And then we have Topgolf Media, like Red Bull Media, where we create content like Who Will Rock You, our rock and roll thing. Mm-hmm. So our global audience now is almost like 100 million people. But it's inside and outside. And our purpose, it's an important element, is we connect people in meaningful ways and create moments that matter for you, right? So it's that purpose and an idea. So we've taken that purpose and those ideas everywhere outside of our, in our venues, outside of our venues. But that's the real magic of Topgolf now, is that direct to consumer audience in that relationship.
It takes one of the main initial reasons that people joined on the golf course together in the first place. It was to play the sport, but to foster relationships. And you're making it an even bigger market, which I think is incredible.
Right. And we give you a nice cocktail, and it's and some
Absolutely.
little
Some
food.
great buffalo chicken
we allow
flatbread.
phones. We let you do Instagram.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
we're generous like that.
You guys ever thought about dabbling with VR?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we have whole teams. We look at all the technology that we might use.
Okay, cool.
VR, AR.
Could you hint
IR.
whether or not that?
What's the next big thing? I know I watched an interview, and I think it was like 2017. I think the person interviewing you was trying to get you to announce like any other sports, not just golf, but any other type of the same mindset around Topgolf, but applied to maybe basketball or football, anything else like that. You guys got on the horizons? Yeah,
WestRiver, we have one we're working with now, which we're excited about. We have a little soccer company called Toca, T-O-C-A. We have a whole team at WestRiver now that works on the experiential economy.
Okay.
Which is, creating these experiences. Mm-hmm. So there's 3 elements to that you could think about. It's is it an authentic experience, right? Does it create community, right? Relationships, and then can you extend it digitally? Can you share it?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because if it can be involved on YouTube or internet or social media,
people
can create social currency. Right. You can share a picture. I'm at Topgolf. Right. That's when you know that the brand and the experience is meaningful enough to you that you're actually going to, share it. Right.
Yeah.
And tell your friends, hey, this was great. I love the donut holes. Because everybody loves the donut holes. Did you have the donut holes?
Yeah, I got those.
Yeah, exactly.
Gin and tonics as well.
Yeah. My favorite is I'm sort of a 1942 tequila person, so that's my...
Noted.
Tequila, wow.
Noted.
Okay.
Small. Just one.
Just one, that's all you need?
No, I share.
Okay. You want to move into some of our leadership and
Yeah. So just in general, what do you feel like you attribute your success to? Do you feel like it's hard work? Do you feel like it's been a little bit of luck, a combination of the two? What would you attribute your success to?
Well, there's a lot of luck I think plays a role for everybody.
Yeah.
But I think when I view my own experience and then I work with people on some leadership questions, the first thing I can say is my family and my mother was quite interesting because I didn't know at the time she was a great leader. Mm-hmm. And she said, we're fearless, not reckless.
Yeah.
So she had sort of had a visionary view. I had the good fortune of just, growing up with that. She started nursing college and did things. So that was really helpful. The other point is I think it's really important that you kind of identify with who you think you are.
Get in alignment with
get
yourself.
alignment. So I'll ask this: are you a trader, like a stock trader? Are you a professional? Are you a lawyer? Are you a manager? Right? Are you a leader? Are you a creator? Right? All those things. Those are all very different personalities, and they have a different idea to them. So you really have to ask yourself, what is it? What does it feel like? I found out that I like leading, which means I didn't necessarily worry so much about winning. I wasn't competing; I was leading, and so that's what I really came back. Now I'd gone through. I was an investment banker, consultant.
Yeah.
Then I was an investor, and all of those elements, if you will, are sort of subparts of my personality where I use them. But when I'm happiest, it's really fun to lead. It's fun to find the idea. It's fun to find the purpose. It's fun to work, say, like we were working, like people. You could say, I like that idea. And, I get to see the sparkle in your eye. And we'll go, we can do that. And then we can start thinking about how we build it, right? But it's fun to have the opportunity and good fortune to work with a group of people and try to do that work for the team, because it's just part of the work, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Shipping the products, all that is equal, but it's fun for me, to do that. Some people find that, oh my goodness, it'd be too stressful. I wouldn't want to do it. What if we're wrong?
Yeah.
What if we do all that? So I'm like, okay, so that's for me. So thinking through all those things you could be, I'm a reporter, I'm a swimmer, I'm an athlete, and then looking at those and sort of finding what just is a natural space for you.
I'm a very short career, but I've attended some leadership seminars. And one thing that stuck with me is like the transparency. And a leader needs to be transparent, not only with their successes, but most importantly, with their faults, and showing their team, hey, it's okay to mess up. Look at me. I've done it. In your career, do you have a memorable mistake you've made, either leading a company or just in your normal career, that you can always come back to as, man, I remember that, and if it hadn't been for that mistake, I wouldn't be here today?
Oh yeah, so many mistakes. I would say one of my mistakes was I had thought was a really good idea when I was at Goldman Sachs, and I went to literally the ends of the earth to try to do this.
Okay.
And it didn't work. It was a very sort of weird bond I was trying to create. Okay. And I can remember the partner, I came back and I'd spent a lot of money. I mean, maybe $500,000 on this idea.
Oh my God!
Wow.
Okay.
Right. I mean, it's a lot of money, right? I had lawyers. I designed securities. I'd been to Japan to sell it, and I came back and he goes, "I don't know that was the best way to go about this." But he was gracious, and he said, we give you this authority. It could have worked, but the fact that you could try, but the fact that they didn't like sort of really chop off with his head sort of thing, Game of Thrones or whatever. So that was a really important one. And then staying with something too long is the other one. I've stayed with companies, and I hate to give up on things. Yeah. So in some ways being tenacious is really good, but sometimes you have to say, I think this one isn't
the right fit.
So sometimes I've hung on too long.
It's a good point, because I don't know, like, if there's a different, like, a generation. I think of maybe the older generations tend to have more loyalty, and us younger generations are maybe seen as impatient and jumping around. How do you weigh that, sticking around, being loyal, and putting in the work and expecting payback versus jumping ship and going and finding your own destiny?
So loyalty and those decisions come down to who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I have a great example. I did a fund with my friend, and it was a 10-year fund, and I've still been working on it. Now it's 17 years. Mm-hmm. We're working on things. I didn't get anything paid for the last 7. Right? I mean, we sort of finished it, but there was work to be done. Yeah. I just finished the work. He's my partner. Yeah. While we're doing it. That's just kind of how I grew up. It's like if you're in, you're in.
Yeah. Finish the job.
But it's just sort of kind of who you are, right? Mm-hmm. And it's useful, or it's nice to have integrity to that conversation, so But at the end, I think it's just, when do you feel you've done what you said you were going to do, or what you thought you were going to do, right? Okay. So it's who you are.
Yeah. Question.
Yeah. One last fun question, and then we'll finish this up.
I guess. Who is the most famous person in your phone, and would you be willing to text them to listen to the Close of Business podcast?
Who is the most famous person in my phone? Well, let's see. We can give you a couple. You want to pick them?
Name drop.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
You want to pick
Give us a couple and we'll choose.
Okay. Tim McGraw.
Oh, okay.
Good one.
Okay.
Usher.
Usher.
Usher. Yeah,
You want Usher?
yeah, I like Usher. Who else? Give
Last
us
one.
one more.
Oh, let me think. Well, we have, gosh, I got to think there's a bunch more. I'm just thinking one that might be interesting. Russell Wilson.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
okay.
a good one too. Love it.
So
I love Russell.
You're gonna text all three and be like, "Hey, you should check out this podcast." Close of this podcast.
I said you could pick one, so you're going to pick him.
Usher.
Usher.
Has to be.
Usher. All right. I'm going to do it. I'll do it right here with you before we go.
You swear?
Right now, I'm going to do it.
Perfect.
I'm a person. It's who you are, right? I said I'd do it.
I love it.
I love that. All right, well, we'll capture that offline. But really want to thank you. I understand you got a lot to do, a busy day and travel. So thank you for coming on.
Thanks so much for your time.
So yeah, essentially, Erik Anderson agreed to let us text the most famous person in his phone, which we chose Usher. Which is like something Raymond the Fourth.
He put in his phone. It said Usher Raymond the Fourth, not just Usher, which I died, like his full name.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Marketing team, if you're listening to this, Alex and Sarah, make sure to tweet out the video of for our listeners to see. I took a video of him actually texting Usher.
Usher, if you're listening, we hope that you got his text.
No, he definitely got his text. He texted him because he was all about it. He could have. We gave him multiple opportunities to opt out. So there's no way he's like going to be like, yeah, I'm going to do it and then just not do it. So he did it. He texted Usher. He is now a closer and listening to the Close of Business podcast, his favorite podcast.
So as promised, we're going to come in and kind of explain the technology behind Topgolf and describe how it actually works. It's not magic.
Yeah. So like,
shocking.
as we pulled the Twitter sphere before this interview, we got a lot of the same questions. Most of them were along the lines of how does Topgolf work? And since we only had 20 minutes with the executive chairman of Topgolf, we didn't want to waste it asking questions we could probably Google ourselves. So that's exactly what we did.
We Googled it ourselves, and we're going to regurgitate that shit.
Yeah. So you don't have to. I mean, everything we do on this podcast, you could probably Google yourselves, but we save you the time.
Also, we're charismatic, right?
That's right.
So first thing when you get there, you get your card, and it has like your specific information tied to it, right? So you go to your bay, and it's your turn. So you wave your club over the little sensor, and it dispenses your ball. So the way Topgolf works, it uses RFID technology. So that's radio frequency ID, identification. And so the ball that comes out, it has a little chip in it. And because it's your turn, the chip knows it's you. Well, it should be you that's swinging at the ball, right?
Yeah. We don't condone anyone swinging at anyone else's turn. So if you're one of those people that clicks on someone else's name and wastes their 5 balls, get out of here.
Or buy them a beer to make up for it. But everyone's probably, you guys have heard of RFID before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like it's kind of like
obviously has.
Yeah, Kevin obviously has. It's a similar concept to a barcode. There's like a code of some sort and like a reader or a scanner. But the thing that's different about RFID is you don't have to be like within line of sight, right? Because with a barcode you have to like hold it an inch away from the scanner or what. It doesn't necessarily maintain the same amount of like level of detail of data either, which is kind of cool. So basically you'll hit the ball. So ball gets dispensed. The system knows that it's you that's swinging, right? You hit the ball. The chip is communicating to the network's like database there, and there are a bunch of RFID readers that are spread out all over.
Something like 500.
Yeah, it's like 500. So there are a bunch of them surrounding, like, you know, the big hole, like gaping holes with the flags and stuff that you're aiming for. There are a bunch of those RFID readers spread out, and it kind of can gauge how close it is to any particular RFID reader. And then it's like some sort of algorithm based on which RFID reader it's closest to. Then it ends up calculating the amount of points that you have. So if you end up making it in one of those holes, the RFID readers in those holes are associated with a specific point amount, and then it'll award you those points. Or if you hit it farther, obviously you're going to get more points. Even if you don't make it in the hole, there are then that sucks.
Becca laughed first.
Happens often to Ryan, I've heard.
Yeah, that's right. So, so then what you're saying is like the RFID in the ball communicates with the closest RFID
reader
that's out there, and that's where it determines where it's at.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So
So if you're trying to get a lot of points, obviously make it in the
Make it in the
That's
hole.
a life lesson, everybody.
Make it in the furthest hole from you. Another cool thing that I picked up on, I think when we were preparing for the executive chairman's interview, is Topgolf is pretty much, they own a lot of the technology that you see surrounding the game of golf. Pro Tracer, Top Tracer, the golf ball tracing technology they're starting to implement in Topgolf locations, where it actually tracks the trajectory of the ball and gives you all of these live stats and live data. And I don't know if that's implemented in all the Topgolfs or if it's just certain locations, but it's pretty incredible. I mean, you got, how far did it carry, the ball speed, height of the apex of the curve, the hang time, and what kind of curve it is. If you're for me, slice 100,000 feet to the right,
Yeah, so they're using them like on broadcasts and and stuff now, like for opens and stuff. You can literally see the trajectory path, and it'll give you all that
which
live
is incredible,
data, which is so cool. That's like fun as a viewer watching. You know what I mean? And everyone wonders like how fast is the ball that Rory's hitting. You know what I mean?
Even just like seeing the ball, like I'm watching on TV and I can't even see where the freaking white little ball in the sky is going. And so like now that you have shot tracer, okay, there we go.
So and I was looking into that, and I was like, okay, because you notice when they drive, when you're watching a drive from a tee box, if you've ever watched golf, it's always from behind the golfer. And I was like, okay, if you want to track a ball, wouldn't you want a bird's eye view? Wouldn't you want a camera to follow the ball? But apparently the technology in this Pro Tracer, it actually works better if it's like behind, slightly off-centered, and doesn't move at all. If you were to try and move and trace it, like that's a completely different algorithm, because it has to like readjust and analyze its surroundings. But just from being behind the golfer, it's able to follow and pick up and
pinpoint
that
the
white,
exact
that exact ball
at any point in time,
all the way through. And it's typically only shown on the drive, but I know that they are starting to roll out technology for not only tee shots, but also approaches or wherever you are on the golf course.
So not only are they utilizing it just on like professional golf tours and on specific golf courses, it's like they're wanting to implement it into ideally every single driving range in the United States. That's the goal, so that when people go to the driving range, they have real-time data about how they're hitting the ball. And if you think about it, and this kind of like got me into the rabbit hole of how technology has improved the overall performance of our athletes. Because think about, it's giving golfers the ability immediately after they hit a ball to analyze what their swing was like and how that ended up impacting the trajectory of their ball, like what adjustments they need to make, that type of thing. Like technology is opening up this whole new new opportunity in terms of like athletic ability and performance.
100%. And I think if you go to think about sports 30 years ago, they were probably still athletes, but you can't compare the athletic performance of sports 30 years ago to what's going on today.
Yeah.
And I think like that's going to be the same in 10 years. I mean, just every other year we're getting freaks of nature. The data is like brand new. Like we're talking within the last 10 years. I would even say 5. So in some sports, this technology isn't even implemented yet. They're just talking about starting it in the NHL. Like, and when you bring that data and that technology to sports, oh my! I cannot wait for the future of sports and betting.
I feel like it started off like in its infancy, just in general, like athletic training, like data and technology helping with your strength, your agility, your speed, your overall physicality. But now it's like the technology is being implemented into those specific sports skills and like the application of the physical development of the athletes and stuff. So yeah, like Kevin was saying, this kind of like opened up our eyes to all the new stuff that's going on in the world of sports and technological development, and kind of like how this is a new thing that's up and coming within the past 5 years. And so we're going to kind of
still up and coming. Yeah.
We're going to kind of like briefly talk about some of the cool stuff we saw when we were doing research in sports, like some of the cool technologies.
I'm going to go ahead and just jump the gun and prelude this. This is not an in-depth discussion on any one particular technology. I think in the future we do owe an episode on that. This is just, we wanted to get an idea of what's out there.
Yeah,
and I will say a lot of these applications kind of do revolve around that RFID type of thing. So it's really, I mean, as you'll get a sense of, it's all about data capture and how these companies are manipulating that data to create a better product.
Yeah,
for sure.
So
for sure.
Kev, you want to start off? The way we did it, we split up. Each of us kind of did 2 sports, each kind of main sport, I would say, and kind of found out different applications that are being used.
So I looked into hockey, and this is one of the sports that really, I'm sure, like on a personal trainer and within the clubhouse, teams are using things like wearable technology, which we can get into, but that's every single sport. The actual NHL is toying with the fact, and I think it's going to start this year. They experimented in 2016 with the Hockey Olympics with a smart puck and making the players wear chips and technology. As far as the use of this, they don't know. It hasn't been implemented league-wide yet, but I think that they definitely want to start tracking data. And as I was reading these articles, unfortunately, since it hasn't happened, there's not much information out there. The one thing that was common was they were mentioning betting and fan experience and how much betting, how much collecting data will drive the fan experience. And I'm like, what? Okay, what? And then I thought about StatCast in baseball and how cool it is to know the statistics and like the exit velocity and distance of a home run instantaneously. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah. So they're gonna how hard did Parayko hit that shot? But no, I think it has to come down to like prop bets and being able to live stream data. Like, okay, a prop bet of I bet nobody's gonna hit a puck over 102 miles an hour, or betting that someone will take this kind of a hit is kind of like the vibe I got.
Yeah, well, that was going to be my next question, is like, what kind of data are they capturing in the chipped? They
literally I looked through 10, so I looked through 10 articles. I did my due diligence. I went past the second article on Google for like multiple different Google searches around this technology, and none would give specifics. There's a lot of hinting, and there's going to be smart puck and then wearable technology. Smart puck, obviously, how hard you're hitting the puck. Things I can think of as frequency, like how quick your hands are.
Yeah.
If it crosses the goal line or not would be something. There's a lot of rules, implications, and speculations going on with that. When it comes to wearable technology, I'm sure there's going to be safety factors. You're taking hits, how fast you're skating, your agility, heart rate monitoring, and just overall fatigue and stuff, so you can see live during the game. And these will not only enhance the fan experience, they're saying, but also help with coaches make line changes. If they're monitoring the hearts of all their people out there, they can see how fatigued and exhausted they are. They're like, okay, we need to make a line change. It's essentially what EA Sports, you've got your bar,
energy bar.
Your energy bar, yeah. So
every player is going to have their own energy bar.
Yeah, and in 10 years, every player is going to be hooked up with plugs in their brain, and the coaches are just going to be controlling them,
Yeah. So in a couple years, I'm going to be watching NHL games, and it's going to be like virtual reality. Like I'm watching the game, but every player has their own like floating stat box and shows their like juice bar.
You
that's
bring
like real
a
time
good
data.
and you bring up a really good point. Is like that's probably what we're getting to is the virtual experience and being able to go beyond like into the 4D element of the game. You're not just seeing what's happening live. You're able to track stats digitally.
Yeah.
But again, they're just now implementing. I think this 2020 season is going to be the first time that they're going to be toying with this. I don't know if that meant 2019, because we're in 2019. I don't know if that meant 2019, 2020 or 2020, 2019.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was hockey. I know baseball. One big thing, everybody knows what StatCast is, and I didn't even breach how they do this.
That's a whole
That's a whole.
Yeah.
We don't want to get down that. The one cool thing that I noticed is you have the live pitching tracker and live pitching box. I don't know if you guys noticed.
When you're watching like a live cast off ESPN or whatever, it kind of shows where the ball is. And
even on TV, like they've got the box there, and then almost immediately they've got the actual trace and the curve of the pitch. So that's just like the same thing that we're doing with golf, we're doing with pitches to show their trajectory and how they're falling off the table and whatnot.
Yeah, it makes me like, I think I'm a good ump or something, because I'm like, oh, that clearly was not a strike. To look at the thing, it was outside the box.
Yeah, like you're an idiot for not seeing this box. Like I'm looking at this box and it's on the corner and you called it a ball. Yeah, I think baseball is really probably, I'm just going to say it because I don't think the MLB is, I think they're like the forefront of technology and data with StatCast and, really Billy Beane and Moneyball and looking at data and analytics. I think baseball really brought to light how data can change a franchise for the better. So now all this technology you're seeing is technology to collect data, whether that be for sports fans or sports teams.
When it's even like using the data that you know and like making the best informed decision about it too.
Yeah, and on the fly. And sometimes we're going to get to the point where coaches don't even need to manage because you're able to collect all the data live, and you're going to have AI, you're going to have algorithms to make those changes. Like you're tracking the speed ball of your starting pitcher, and you've noticed it's decreased by 5%. And you're going to say, okay, I'm looking at the lineup as an AI. I'm looking at the lineup. We've got a righty-lefty matchup coming up. The fastball is decreased. This hitter like is known to hit when the fastball is off, or just live analyze like the statistics of 1v1 matchups and whatnot, and algorithms make those decisions for you, where you're just on your phone and boom, you get a notification. Yeah, we need to pull this guy. Okay, let's pull him.
You know what I want to have in baseball is like censored bags. Touch bang plays, tags,
like in your gloves and like
right
on
now.
The bags.
Right now they just rely with instant replay, which I mean they have
hand up. I think like umpires in baseball are proof that we don't not proof, but they're the best proof that we have that humans still got it. Like if you watch a lot of those replays, they get
them right a lot of the time.
So incredible, and they're making split second decisions, and they're getting it right. Yeah. It's incredible.
I'm going to throw this question out here. This is for like general refereeing overall, like in any sport. So in theory, we're going to get to a point where the technological advancement is going to put us in a position where we can have artificial intelligence make the decision on any call at any time, right?
Yeah.
I think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Do you think that we'll ever...
for some sports.
Do you think that we'll ever get rid of human referees?
Yeah, I mean, like football, I think you won't be able to get rid of them because there's like certain calls. Like, how are you gonna call like holding or? Like,
but I feel like an AI could learn to make that call.
There's utter chaos on the line. I doubt.
I think if there was enough, so
yes, eventually, level 2.
Yeah, like way down the road. So something we learned about at Singularity University. At one of the
you're so dumb you weren't there, right?
At one of the artificial intelligence talks by
do you know what artificial intelligence is?
No, what?
By Natana
Sharma. She was talking about like one of the next steps in artificial intelligence is taking images and having human beings go in and labeling them, right?
Yeah.
So for a holding call, you have all these like snapshots of defenders holding offensive players. Human beings are going in and labeling like this is holding.
Yeah.
And after a certain amount of inputs and labeling that human beings do, at some point, artificial intelligence should be able to make the same decisions that human beings can.
But
so in theory, I think.
So you got to do that for every call, and
every way you hold. I think it's
and
like
that's.
I think it's possible though.
Some calls are very
the way.
I think other things like personal fouls, like that would be hard,
right?
You know what I mean?
And that's kind of like the same thing as holding, because like if you look at the rule, I mean holding is like it's kind of black and white.
We get
it's
it.
not black.
Did you play college football?
No.
We get it.
The team I played for didn't really count.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think
for those who don't know, Ryan played football at KU.
I think like there's certain
season.
sports like baseball, more black. I don't know if I call it.
There's so many unwritten rules to baseball, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Here's my next question, though. Here's another scenario.
I still want to go.
Oh, sorry.
AI. We're getting back to the AI. Becca mentioned like the first step is training and just looking at pictures, and an AI is really good at completing one task. You would have to train it on every task, and eventually like that's like level 1 where we're at. Level 2, what they're saying is like, the next 50 to 60, maybe even 100 years out is like AI learning by itself, and that's kind of like a human version of AI. And then level 3 is
AI training AI.
AI is, I think that might be level 2. AI, they don't know. No, they didn't know what level 3 is. It's like the next, we'll talk about it, but it's like once you reach level 3, then they're like, we don't know the future of humanity. It's kind of like AI is perfect and runs the world, whereas I think level 2 is AI training itself. I think maybe when we get to level 2, we'll start seeing less need for
human beings as referees, or
Or
just human
human
beings in
beings.
general, or human beings, period.
So we really focused in there. So football.
I mean, there's a lot going on with football too. One of the big things that I'm sure a lot of people know is the whole concussion head thing. So there's a lot of technology, and I won't really get into it, but just putting sensors on people's heads or helmets to essentially gauge the forces,
like impact level,
the impact and the forces and the movement as far as like how quick your head's kind of like jolting back and
Side
forth.
note, did anyone see that Gronk said that he got 20 concussions over his NFL career? He estimated 20. There's no way he had 20.
Those are just the ones he remembers.
A lot of them go like undiagnosed, but they say like the big problem with concussions isn't like the number, or it's not how many that get diagnosed, it's like the frequency of how it happens.
Yeah.
But anyways, so I mean there's all that with concussions and
But it's not
CTE
only
and all that
tracking,
stuff.
but it's like, isn't it also like working to disperse impact?
Yeah, so a lot of like the new helmets are, to this point in the history of a helmet, I guess, the helmet was designed to prevent the skull. And so that's why it had a really hard outer shell. But now that it's being developed, it's more about dispersing that impact. So a lot of the new helmets technology is more for absorption.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're, essentially trying to absorb that force and disperse it across your circumference of your helmet, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's still going on. I mean, that's why you see like that Antonio Brown, how he couldn't wear his helmet that was 10 years old because the helmet that was 10 years old was...
Yeah, Antonio Brown just wanted to go to the Patriots.
Maybe that too. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be really funny if they're like, instead of dispersing energy, like absorbing it, what if like they could transfer the energy because it needs to go somewhere into like just fart sounds? So that's how it's getting transferred. So
literally, you would be listening to NFL, and rather than like helmets hitting pads and stuff, it's literally just like. It's like 3 hours of fart noises.
Man, all right. I'm going to transition off that one, but talk about harnessing energy.
Talk about farts.
There is one company that came across this. I think I'm a little skeptical on it, but I think it's an interesting idea. It's called Fan Jersey, but it's by Wearable Experiments. What it is, it's a T-shirt and it has sensors on it. And they say that you can feel the emotions of your team. So, like, let's say I pick the Chiefs, and let's say the Chiefs score a touchdown. They disperse essentially vibrations in the shirt that's supposed to give you a sense of excitement too, or like if they're going up against the play clock, a sense of like anxiety that like the play clock's about to run out.
So these are like wearable emotions.
Yeah, it's essentially you wear like a jersey.
Why not just take a stick of adrenaline? Like,
shoot me with serotonin, bro.
So like that one's a little.
They make pills for this. I don't want to. I'm wearing essentially like a pill.
Constantly wearing the jersey, like
That's
the game's not
cool.
even on. That's one of them, and then one of the ones that's really there's two that are really taken off. One is called Zebra Technologies, but it's the same RFID that Becca was talking about earlier, but it's a way to track speed, distance, and all that stuff. And they're using it in games to see like distance, stuff like that, but even also in like combines and the way you're scouting people.
Yeah.
One of the things they talk about is like your get off the line, like how quick you are off the line. Like they're able to track that now instead of someone having a timer saying, okay, hey, or a visual eye test, you can like numerically track all of these things that people have just been using as an eye test so far. So I mean, that was kind of another thing. But then the last one, which I probably have seen more than any of the other ones, is this company, and it's been around for a little bit, called WestRiver. It's like the AR VR thing, the headset. And so I mean, they've had it on Monday Night Football, but it's a lot more simple than I thought it was. Pretty much you put on this VR headset, and the idea is that you can get like mental reps in. So you're a quarterback, and you put on this VR headset, and you can kind of like scan the offense and the defense and kind of go through your progressions. But really all it is like those VR images you're seeing, they're not populated by, a computer or whatever. It's just recording for practice or from the game or whatever. So all you're doing is like that previous day you have a camera on your helmet, and it's recording all these different plays that you run during the day. And then you get back and you do this VR and you're pretty much rerunning those same plays, but with VR, so that way you can kind of. And the thing is that really the main thing it allows you to do is.
I don't want the Patriots to get this technology.
Oh no, they're already using it. So it actually is catching on.
They have a shaky history with recording practices.
Right. So yeah, there's actually a couple teams that are actually using it. Probably some more that should be using it. But
Browns.
like the Browns, exactly, they need it. But so in like college, you got
The Dolphins.
Yeah, no
they're
kidding.
tanking. They don't want to use it. But
They're trying to get that number 1 draft pick and that number 2 draft pick and that number 3 draft pick.
If anybody gets drafted by the Dolphins, they're gonna quit football.
So yeah, in the NFL, it's like the Steelers, the Patriots, the Cardinals. They actually showed it one time on Monday Night Football. I remember kind of a little background. You know, John Gruden put it on. It was pretty funny. Hey man, this is crazy, man. So people are already starting to use it in football, and kind of the next thing, you know, I think that's going across sports is wearable technology.
That was the main thing that I've seen, like when I was researching soccer, was the use of wearable technology. So I don't know if you've ever seen videos of the players wearing those like little vests. That's like the wearable technology that they have.
The sports bras, right?
The sports bras. They're just really high-tech, really expensive sports bras.
Knew I should have gotten into soccer.
But not as supportive as they need to be,
Yeah,
I must
right.
say. Anyway.
Well, some say like you don't want support.
Yeah, it's like light support. It's not like high impact support. But those are developed by a company called Stat Sports, and a lot of major soccer teams, like teams in the Premier League, are using them for practices and stuff. So it's constantly taking data. It's taking your total distance that you're doing during practice, your max speed, your sprints, your accelerations, and then it also creates like a fatigue index too, which I think is important. You can pay attention to when your players are getting tired, so you don't want to make them prone to injury, that type of thing. But the main thing that I thought was cool is it also watches your step balance as well, and that can be a way that can keep tabs on whether or not you're favoring one side or another, and you know, preemptively getting you off the field and making sure that you're not going to get injured. It's kind of like human machine learning,
and that's
you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of. I don't know if we get into this too much, but it's kind of like the machine learning to prevent injury is like, you know, you got wearable technology like that, or even there's other like screening where you can like predict if your Achilles is going to pop before it actually does.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like
Using
wasn't
it
technology.
like Durant or no?
Well, Eric Berry, part of the reason he didn't come back was that.
Eric Berry.
R.I.P. Well, not R.I.P., but we miss you. So yeah, one of the reasons he didn't come back was because they're like, it's already fatigued enough. I don't know if they scanned it or what exactly you do, but it's like, it's weaker than it should be. Type of thing.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's like in the episode with Patrick Bongert that we had where we talked about machine learning, you know, it's like rather than it being you're watching all the data and seeing indicators in the data sets for whether or not a piece of equipment is going to fail, it's the same for like the human body.
And it's like after observation and taking all of this data in, you can start to write preventative AI kind of codes to predict things based on the data that you received. And one thing that I wanted to bring up that you got me thinking about was not only could this be used to prevent injuries, but especially in soccer, you need to be an extremely balanced player.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to make it if you're only strictly right foot. I mean, there are exceptions out there, but like being able to analyze how, because, you know, the definition of an athlete, I think, has to come down to, like, being able to I'm looking at Ryan because we have this debate all the time on what an athlete is. But I think like, being balanced is, like, incredibly, like, being able to use both sides of your body.
They're going to put these
well.
vests on, like, 7-year-old kids at soccer tryouts, and they're going to be like, this kid is clearly favoring his right foot all the time.
Right.
He's not going to be a good
But
player
then you
for us.
can
Let's cut him.
Team.
Yeah, let's cut him.
But then you can use that, and you can, like, look, okay, so I have this whatever sensor in my foot, and my impact on the ball is way weaker with my left foot than when I'm striking a ball with my right foot. Or when I'm doing a certain step over, you can see the path that my foot moved versus my right foot and how quick and efficient I am. And you can start working and finding not only ways like for you to prevent injury, but to improve yourself.
Cyborg athletes.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally almost doing away with the eye test. You know, up to this point, I would say the past 5 years.
It's the AI test.
It's the AI test. There we go. So, you know, back in the day.
Let's start a company called AI Test.
Okay.
So, yeah, back in the day, it was all just like, oh, this guy looks super fast. This guy has a quick get off the ball or whatever it may be. And kind of what you're leading into is like you can literally track and get data for every single almost thing you do. how quick someone gets off, the pressure they're putting on, all that stuff. I mean, I'm sure Mr. CrossFit guy right here, you could track like acceleration of the bar going up or whatever.
Really, or like path of the bar.
Yeah.
And like where you're making contact on certain lifts and stuff. And like, I'm getting into this.
AI test TM. We have a lot of TMs on this show. A lot of
ton of TMs. All right,
ton of TMs. So the other main thing that is up and coming in soccer, which I think is pretty cool and actually super important, is goal line technology. Yeah. So I know it's been updated a little bit up to this point. They've been utilizing cameras for the most part, but even then still it's like you have to slow down the camera to a specific frame and like look at a super pixelized frame to determine whether or not the ball all the way across the goal line or not. Mm-hmm. But now they're starting to install like magnetic fields around the goal. So they're installing cables all the way through the post, on the crossbar, and underneath the ground on the goal line. And essentially the way this works, they put a receptor in the ball, and if the ball crosses the goal line all the way, it'll disrupt the magnetic field, and then there will be some sort of sensor that automatically indicates to a referee, like they get a notification like the ball crossed the goal line all the way, because it's not like it's basketball where there's like 100 points in a game. It's like there could be one goal that's close that could determine who is the World Cup champion. And if you don't have like a really definitive answer as to whether or not the ball crossed the goal line, that's kind of a big deal.
I can't wait for all the like older generations to get pissed off at this kind of technology.
Yeah. Are any big tennis players in the room?
Yeah, I played tennis.
Okay,
yeah.
So in a tennis match, when you're watching on TV, you know, they show if a ball hits the line or not. Is that just high-speed cameras, or is that...
You know, I'm not sure. That's a really good question. I need to dig into that, because it is like, you'll watch, it's super precise. Like,
it's
they will go in, it's super quick, super precise, and they'll go and they'll zoom in down to like millimeters worth of space between the line and the ball to determine if a ball was in or out. And that, again, that could be a huge, like, match-changing point. Yeah. Literally a break point or a championship point. You know what I mean?
Although I do have to say, specifically in soccer, I saw like the offsides rule and like how they can like use technology to determine offsides in soccer, which is, I think, stupid. It used to be back when I was a ref, so like a little bit ago, like half of your body had to be past the last defender, and it's like all up to the eye test. Probably one of the more missed calls we get wrong all the time as refs. But now, with this new technology, they're calling offsides like that. And honestly, like, it's so dumb because there are goals being called back based off of, like, you have a millimeter or two of advantage. And it's not like, okay, a ball crosses a goal line, it should count, or a ball is out of bounds, it should count. It's like, I had a millimeter of a step on you.
Yeah, I think that's unfair, because you should reward a player for like taking a chance and making a play like that and reading the line.
Letter versus spirit of the law.
And now they're getting down to like the letter, and like this one I saw is like, okay, this dude's onside, like his lower half was, but I think his upper half was like maybe an inch past that, like he was leaning like a little past the defender, but their feet are on the same plane, so it's like, and then they called the goal back, and so I guess there's two sides.
I mean, like anything, probably takes getting used to. For us, it's new to us, so yeah, it's different. But my grandkids are hopefully
they're going to be used to it.
Yeah, I knocked on wood there.
There you
go. So what other sports? I think Ryan, you had basketball.
Yeah, so basketball is same wearable technology, but one of the things that they're using for basketball, and it's more the fan experience. I think with basketball, they're gauging speed and all that stuff, but it's the fan experience. So right now, you know, when you watch on ESPN.com or whatever, your game tracker, you know, it like updates at the end of every play. You know, it says this happened. Where one of the things that they're wanting to do is you put sensors on each of the players, and there's sensors up in the rafters and in the ball. And it's almost like live time on your computer screen. Every player and the ball would be represented by like moving dots,
like real time updates of like location of players and where the ball is and everything.
So you can see like almost
just in case I don't have ESPN Plus and I can't watch the game.
You can't spend $5 to watch it.
So like
so you can
exactly
similar to what baseball has with the strike zone. On
but it's
game
more
day.
live time.
I guess.
Oh yeah, so I guess baseball. What you're talking about when you're actually watching the game?
The strike zone.
Yeah, the strike zone. Yeah, it's kind of like, so you'll look at a basketball court on your computer screen, and you'll see that they ran a pick play at the top of the key or something, and you'll be able to kind of track it like that rather than just saying missed shot by Kevin Flaker, rebound Ryan Carlin, whatever, something like that.
And then slam dunk by Becca Schmidt.
Yes.
She runs the court. She breaks somebody's ankles.
That'd be
slam dunk.
That'd be like interesting. Instead of dots, the next evolution of that, it's like, okay, let's get a 2D model, let's get a 3D model, and then next thing you're doing
and
is
then
you're
someone's
not
gonna step in and be like, really, why don't you just
watch the game? I know, but then like you don't have to like have this subscription to watch the game. Instead, you've got this 3D rendering.
No, they'll make another subscription.
You can make them all wear like princess dresses if you want. I don't know, tiaras.
You're like, oh, this is weird. I'm watching KU versus Kentucky, but all the KU players are actually
Yeah.
Yoshi characters, and Kentucky is all Princess Peach.
Yeah, it's like KU's got all dog filters on their face, and the ball is on fire.
Kentucky has the poop emoji.
Just say the poop emoji. I'm gonna ugly laugh. Okay. Another cool thing I saw about basketball when I was doing some research is pertaining to the Golden State team, and I think it's like the AGM or the GM's son was coaching the AAA team, and he really brought data analytics into basketball and looking at high percentage shots and stuff, just on in a basic way, kind of like what Billy Beane did with MLB. I believe we talked about that earlier.
Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt. And what they're doing now is they're using similar like high tech cameras that they're using for that modeling, but they're analyzing plays and they're analyzing the practices, and they're able to determine which players shoot better from which areas of the court, defenders in certain positions, guarding them in certain plays like driving to the hole or taking the 3-pointer. He's always,
Yeah.
When he eats chicken parm before the game,
yeah,
he sees this percentage.
the step back. I don't know, like so they're able to draw up specific plays, out of bounds balls. Okay, we need this guy with the ball on this player. They match up well in this specific location at this angle.
Yeah, I think that takes like the level of understanding of each player's strengths, because like most players are like, yeah, I have a strong 3-point shot, or I'm good at driving in the hole, but it's like adding another layer of complexity and setting them up to be even more successful, and you're like orchestrating your team's plays in order to support that.
I wonder if they'll ever make technology to help me dunk. Do you think
they have that? It's just illegal.
It's called moon shoes.
What's it called?
It's
what's gonna make me dunk, Ryan?
Juicing.
Yeah.
Or PF Flyers, one of the two.
I thought you were gonna talk about trampolines, maybe.
Ooh. You know what? That gets me thinking. So, I love watching basketball, normal basketball.
What was that
But the trampoline basketball, when you're just like dunking on dudes, it's kind of like what
was that called?
If you know, please.
Isn't there like a league? Am I making
that?
Yeah,
it's still going on, but it's like we're taking all of our games to the next level. It's like, why not just let humans run free? Let us see where we can go, and we're worried about an even playing field. Just make everything legal, and so we can just see how high someone can jump, how strong someone can get.
Give
how
them
fast
all the roids. Give them the
roids. Like
no technological holdback. Like they get access to everything.
Let Michael Phelps smoke as much marijuana as he wants.
Right.
Exactly. Everyone's on an even playing field, and you're just there for the entertainment.
Yeah. And Lochte can get robbed as many times as he'd like to, and that would be very, very interesting. I want to.
You could go professional. Kevin.
What sport would you create? I wouldn't go professional. I'm too lazy. What? There's got to be a lot of derivatives of sports in that case.
What, like chopping wood sport, or like what do you mean derivatives?
I don't know. If you just have a bunch of roided out people on a field, I feel like soccer will turn into like maybe boxing too.
It's just like fights.
Yeah.
That's true.
Maybe that's how hockey got started. I don't know.
But what about the ice? Like, how did the ice get integrated into that?
They were up in Canada.
Yeah. I don't know.
They were playing soccer on the ice.
They started slipping.
And then they started fighting each other. I don't even know what accent that was coming out of nowhere.
Dodgeball. Olga.
Oh, God.
Horse tranquilizers.
It's a whole league full of Olgas.
Was that her name? I'm just saying Olga.
Helga.
Helga.
And wasn't a beaver tranquilizer?
I've
That was her crying. That's what she sounds like.
all I know she was a smoke show. That's how I.
Posters on my wall when I was a child.
That would be interesting. And then like in the future, not only would we immediately go to drugs, right? But then like we start talking about this wearable technology and like, you know, one episode is a couple episodes ago, I talked about brain transplants and wearing microchips in your
Somebody
brain.
has a separate brain for sports. Like they
You don't have a separate brain. You just use 90% of the brain you're not using. But you put in a microchip for sports.
They go into this stall and it opens up the half of their head and then it switches out their sports brain so that they're
That makes sense.
So when someone says, "Kevin, get your head out of the gutter," it's like, "Oh shoot, my sports or my brain's in the gutter. My sports brain fell in the gutter." No, but like if you listen to the episode, but essentially they can put like really, really small wires into specific synapses in your brain, and you're becoming a cyborg. So what if now, and essentially it fires electrical signals in your brain to help you move if you're paralyzed. So what if you're not paralyzed, but you're just not athletic? For instance, you're Ryan Carlin and you need help in the athletic department. So he's got
Please send help.
He's got these like sensors in his brain, and he's got a microchip hooked up to wearable technology, and they're talking to each other. And this sensor detects, like he's playing football, he's a running back, and this sensor can see some dude in his blind spot, right, getting ready to tackle him, sends a signal to the microchip, sends us an electrical signal to his brain to tell him to jump left, or like
It'd be like NFL Blitz.
yeah, it's like autonomous vehicles for sports.
Yeah, but the defender also has wires in his brain, and he knows that
That
he's
I'm
thinking
thinking
about it.
oh,
and
it's
then-
chess.
It's endless play.
Yeah, nobody goes anywhere. No, but like that'd be really cool. And which country can come up with like the best technology to make
That's the future of sports, my
cyborgs?
friends. The future of
Cyborg.
sports.
Speaking of cyborgs, Boston Dynamics has a robot that can do a gymnastics routine.
Yeah, I saw that. Did you see the video of like the 10-year pretty much transformation of this? So like 10 years ago, they were just starting out like getting a robot to take its first step. Like that was a big deal. And now they're like doing jumps and just like
Flipping.
Oh
Yeah,
my
it's
god, this is
crazy.
like the evolution of human beings too, like just learning to walk like human infants.
But it's
And
so
now they're
much
learning
quicker.
gymnastic routines. They're about the equivalent of a 12-year-old. Oh my god, what's going to
Wow.
happen when they continue to evolve? What happens when they're the equivalent of a 50-year-old human?
Oh,
Possibilities are endless, my friends.
Do you think they'll have,
Do you think they'll have
money in
lower
their
back
401k?
pain? Yeah, lower back pain.
Lower back pain. My circuit's hurt.
Oh man. All right, listeners, if you guys have any things that we didn't talk about related to sports and technology, hit us up at COB Podcast on Instagram and Twitter.
And Gmail, although I haven't checked the Gmail account in like a year,
Yeah.
so
Preferably Instagram or Twitter.
yeah, please do.
We're sorry if you guys have been, somebody out there has been sending us a bunch of
Also,
emails. We haven't checked it. So
We're gonna have those T-shirts, like we said, maybe at the beginning of this episode. If you follow, if you get your friends to follow, if you start retweeting us on Twitter, spreading the word, I'll give you $100.
Ooh, heard it here first.
that's it.
Becca, cut that.
All right. Thanks, guys. We out.
Thanks for listening today, you guys. For more episodes, you can catch us on iTunes at Close of Business Podcast. Make sure to get on there and give us good reviews and share the podcast with your friends and colleagues. And for your social media needs, you can hit us up on Instagram and on Twitter at COB Podcast. Be sure to follow us so you can get all of the alerts for our new episodes and check out what we're up to. If you want to shoot us an email with your questions or comments, you can do so at cobpodcast@gmail.com. See ya.